Welcome to the DMF. I am your host, Justin Yance, and today I have a special guest, Ryan Perez of Dev Nations. I found him on Book Devs. He also has a website called devnations.com. He is a creative entrepreneur, and this is my interview with him. This is part one. Okay, I have with me a special guest today. I have Ryan Perez Dev. He is a creative entrepreneur and the founder of Dev Nations. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing great, Justin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for doing this. This is great.
Absolutely.
So the first thing I want to ask is what led to creating Dev Nations?
Nice. So what led to creating Dev Nations? Let's see. So it was quite a journey, to say the least. So I actually started off with a more sort of personal channel even before Perez the Dev, where I just wanted to talk about programming and like coding. So cause I come from a computer science, more engineering background, technology background. And so I actually wanted to start doing more coding videos when I started, close to when the pandemic hit, I think it was.
Yeah.
Actually, no, a little bit before.
That's
And
kind of
then,
what it seems like with a lot of us is that, we all we're just like, oh, let's use social media, the
yeah,
pandemic.
yeah, exactly. So I started the personal coding, I think a little bit on my own, and then the pandemic hit. So then I doubled down on wanting to do like more of that desire and sort of embrace that. But I started with just coding, and I realized as much as I love coding, I don't like I don't like recording videos on it, or at least not in the moment, because now
Yeah.
now I try to do a couple of tutorials just to help some friends out, and I found I don't mind it now, but back then I didn't, and for whatever reason. But I realized I wanted to do something still where I can embrace uh, social media, content creation, and so eventually I wanted something that I could just do a lot of like professional development, growth, and just sharing like knowledge and information and education, personal finance, all those different things that I think are important to sort of adulting and being like a human. And so I
Mm.
just started with, I came up with the idea of Dev Nations because I wanted all these different developmental areas, whether it's personal finance or health or mindset, all around the world. And so I just thought of, well, Dev Nations is cool. Plus, it plays off of uh, development, like programming. Yeah,
Developing
yeah,
nations.
yeah,
Yeah.
that too. So I was like, all right, cool.
Uh,
That actually sounds pretty cool. And so one thing led to another. I enjoyed building out Dev Nations, and I realized I wanted to do multiple brands within that because I have so many different interests. As you were mentioning earlier, I wear many different hats, and I think a lot of people are like that. We're like, we all wear different hats, but we're just sort of told we can only focus on one. So I kind of wanted to embrace the differences of people's multiple interests, if you will.
now that's interesting. Yeah. It seems like, yeah, in society, we're like so pressured to be like, okay, you're this one thing, you're this thing. It's like,
Yeah,
no, I'm this, but I'm also this, and I'm also this, and I'm also this.
exactly.
And I think I guess you could say coming into the millennial age,
Yeah,
what
like as
the next thing.
technology
Yeah.
evolutionizes, it's like it's not how it was in the 1950s or 60s.
Yeah.
Like we have information and access to things almost instantaneously that might have taken someone just 20 years ago, a week to do it, or to find the information. We have it at our fingertips,
Yeah.
and I think that's just going to continue to get faster and faster. And so I no longer think it's just or. I think it's more of an and game of we can do X and Y and Z because we have all this extra time at our hands. Now, granted, right, you got to be focused to some degree.
Yeah.
Like if you spend half of your day just kind of on social media consuming and
Yeah.
not doing what you want to do, I understand that. But I want to make sure, because sometimes I think people think I'm like delusional. But it's like, well, no, if you
Yeah.
stay focused on the goals you want, I think you can achieve them all.
Yeah. If you're just scrolling through Instagram, yes, that would be kind of a waste of time.
A little bit,
Because you
right?
could just
Like
get sucked
I
on
think it's
there.
intention. Well, because I think it's
Yeah,
intention too. Like I'm not saying if you scroll on Instagram that's terrible. Like I'll go scroll on because I want to see, what other content creators are doing, right? Or I want to see
exactly.
just
Same
what is
here.
the new sort of trend, maybe, right? So it's like depends on your intention. And even then, just being mindful of your intention, because like
And I
like you were
think,
kind of hinting at, we'll kind
and
of like
that's,
scroll through and then get lost.
I think that's the most important thing, is to have the intention. If you have an
Hmm.
intention, then yeah, it's not just mindlessly scrolling, because
Yeah,
you do have something that you're trying to accomplish.
exactly.
Um, it's interesting because said, yeah, you don't want to just be one thing. I
Hmm.
mean, I find that now I don't want to just live one place either.
Yeah,
It's like I want to,
yeah, exactly.
I like half the year here, half the year here. It's like I don't want to
Hmm.
just be confined to, because New York is great, but New York
Hmm.
is always busy. I also
Yeah,
like being here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where
nice.
I can breathe and meditate, and there's a
Hmm.
lot to unpack. One thing you mentioned, just backtracking a little bit here.
Hmm.
So you started with coding. Is that something that was always there? Is that something that developed? Is that something that your family did? Like, how did coding come about?
The way coding came about, I think it was just always my natural curiosity for things. So like from a
Mm,
young age, like as like the earliest memories that a human can like try and think about, right? Like I think I was just always a very curious person and I always asked questions. And I think what I liked about technology is that it helped, like it allowed people to make things, it allowed people to do things faster, and it always changed. So those were sort of like my prerequisites, I think, growing up. Like I didn't think of it like that. I just kind of
yeah.
understood that like I wanted to be part of something where I can always learn something new and continually push boundaries of like how humans use things. Like printers, like I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like, as a kid, it's like, whoa, a printer is so cool because you have these words that are on your digital device and then they come out in the real world and you can see the actual text. Huh, that's really cool. And so I used to take apart like printers just to kind of figure out how they sort of worked and such. And then from there, my curiosity just grew and grew, uh, among other areas as well. So
Reminds me a lot of Steve Jobs. I mean, he would do that, where he would take apart the
I guess
printer
so.
and figure. And did you have heroes like that? Did you look up to guys like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, or were you just kind of interested in the idea of just how it worked?
At first, yeah, definitely just interested in the idea of how it worked and trying to just not even trying, like it was just like a kid playing, like
Yeah.
like when you're playing, that's not really an intention. It's just kind of you go in just playing. I think as I got older, of course, like more in my teenage years, yeah, definitely I would say I started learning about like Steve Jobs. So he was definitely a role model. Um,
Bill Gates,
Bill
Elon
Gates,
Musk.
yeah,
Yeah.
Elon Musk definitely now, like I'm trying
Yeah.
to think like when I was like a decade ago, like starting my teenage years. I think that was mostly Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as I've gotten older now, I have certainly more role models. Elon Musk, Dr.
What
Jordan
do
B.
you think it is
Peterson.
about Steve Jobs that really appeals to a lot of entrepreneurs? What do you think it is about him?
What I think it is that Steve Jobs, or that appealed to a lot of people for with Steve Jobs, right? Mm, I think it was like a sense of like hope to some degree, because it's like
Mhm.
you can look at something and say it's going to be better. Like we can make this better than it currently is, and make this also be meaningful as well. Like an iPhone, right? It's like not only is it a
Yeah.
phone that we got rid of keyboard and text, to make it so much easier to type.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if anybody listening who has not watched the initial announcement of the iPhone should go check out, because it definitely adds perspective. It's like, whoa, that was like a little over 10 years ago, and it's like removing what is it,
And
key,
think
what is it,
and
removing
think of
buttons were like
yeah, and
revolutionary.
think of how crazy that was to do that. That's what I liked about him. He was always pushing
Yeah,
these inventions that
exactly.
I'm sure people are like, oh, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And he
So
was
yeah, no, I definitely think it was that innovation, the hope of like tomorrow's going to be better. Hell, even today is going to be better because we're pushing boundaries, we're trying our best, and we're not accepting. It's not that we're not accepting loss. We're not accepting for things to just be okay. You know, they have to be even better. You know,
Do you
and we
think it
won't
was
accept
also
nothing less.
with Steve Jobs, the fact that he would say stuff that, like, these great people that you're looking up to, he would kind of dissect that and be like, they're no different than you or me. You can do that. You can do the same thing as them.
Hmm.
You just got to be crazy enough to go and do it.
Yeah,
Do you think that
yeah.
was something also?
I definitely think the he was obviously a very smart person. Like because I know he gets a lot of like heat sometimes from like from my side, from like engineers and technology people, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, oh, he's not an engineer, but it's like, but it doesn't matter. Like you know, he could see, he would put in the time to study things, and then
You
yeah,
could
he
see the
could see
vision.
the, yeah, he had a vision, and then he also would take the time to learn if he didn't know, or outsource whatever he didn't know. Like he had was to do more the technical
Yeah.
engineering side, right? Like they're both great things, and I think, and it goes back to our whole, you know, it's not one or the other. I think it's
Oh,
embracing
yeah.
both. Like if you can be
He
both,
oversaw
great.
it all.
Yeah, but if not, that's fine. Get people that know the tech. Get people that are good at operations, if that's your weakness, right? You know,
Yeah.
focus on your strengths and then hire your weaknesses.
And he learned, yeah, he knew how to delegate and he knew how to learn
Yeah,
from his mistakes. You look at,
exactly.
Steve Jobs, after, he left Apple, and then when he came back, he pretty much knew, okay, I need people that I could trust here that aren't going to undermine me and have the same vision. And he just,
Hmm.
I mean, the iPad, I mean, all
Yeah,
these things. I mean, like, I'm still waiting for Apple to innovate again, and
yeah,
I could see Steve Jobs today be like, in one of their meetings and be like, what are we doing here?
yeah.
Why?
Well, I mean, they got the AirPods, right? I mean, the AirPods
Yeah.
were quite
And
something.
their version of headphones is
Yeah,
pretty good. I mean, it's ridiculously
I mean,
expensive, but
yeah, exactly.
it's really well made, from everybody that has thought, like, they pretty much. So what I love about Apple is they always put out quality, and it's going to work, and it
Exactly.
works for a long time as long as you take care of it. If you just
Yeah,
throw it around, no,
yeah.
it's not
Okay, you
going.
know.
It's not going to work.
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
first iPad I got, it lasted 7 years, and I'm like, I mean, people are like, well, it should have lasted 10. I'm like, what lasts 10 years? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good. I mean,
Hmm.
as technology develops and as it, improves, unfortunately, that hardware is not going to be able to sustain it. So they
Yeah,
have to upgrade. I mean, people, I don't think the older generation understands that so much. They are like, well, I always had the same dishwasher. And it's like, yeah, but they weren't upgrading and updating
oh,
your
okay.
dishwasher. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. No, that's a good connection. Yeah. Mm.
it's like, so how could it do that? They didn't
Yeah,
update. Now you can put technology in there so you can update it to a certain degree. But after a while, it's like you can't, you have to
yeah,
say goodbye,
yeah,
So
exactly.
one last question about the coding. What
Yeah.
were your family supportive? Did they understand this, or were they kind of like, what is this? What is this kid doing
Um.
here?
Yeah. No. So my family comes from my mom comes from a technology background, so she was fine with it.
Okay.
Um. I mean, I also had other interests too. They always knew like I had an interest in like music, and I
Yeah.
think they were just always very supportive of whatever I did. Like they were just like, oh, you know, Ryan's just a curious person. That's fine. You know, we'll make sure that, you know, since he's curious, we'll nurture that. Um. At least that's how I felt. You know, from my
Yeah.
perspective as being a kid. No, I think, yeah, they just were very supportive in that sense. Like I, now granted, like you said, it was like you have to do one or the other. Like I remember I would
Yeah.
talk to them about, like, you know, I was thinking about maybe doing tech and maybe doing something, you know, like, well, you know, you want to focus on one thing. It's like yes and no.
Yeah.
Like now that I look back, it really is a yes and no. It's like yes, you got to put in your, you know, thousands
Yeah.
of hours to stay focused and study. But if you obsess about that long enough, over time, you know, you can do other things as well. You know, because you've built the foundational time
Yeah.
to be a master in that. You know.
You jumped me in a little bit, but I would ask you this because
Yeah.
I feel like this is a question that needs to be asked, and our generation, I think, is asking this question. Do we need school? Do we need school or could we learn through books and through YouTube? Or is it need to be, since it's at a young age, to kind of be pushed in there and then maybe, like, what do you think?
Well, what do you, I want to make sure it's clear. Like, what are you defining
Yeah.
as school?
I mean, like, do we need to put kids
Like, are we saying K through
college,
12? Are we saying
college?
university?
Yeah.
We're saying more college, university?
I'm kind of asking it broad, but in some
Okay, okay.
ways,
We can do both.
yeah, yeah.
We can do both. So I do think there is some, I definitely think there's a benefit with school, right? Like I know right now it gets a lot of like heat because, oh, school is so old and it's a lot of money and this and that. So K through 12, I think is definitely important, right? Like we need some version, like maybe it can be even less time than K through 12, but I think there should
Mm,
be some version of like, hey, you know what? The world should know how to read, how to write, how to do science and math, whether you plan on being an engineer or a bricklayer, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like we need to know how to do some basic arithmetic, 1 + 1,
yeah.
some basic sciences, because I think that's all important to just piecing together the world. It's just part of the world. Now, I do think it's very outdated. I will say that, like we don't really necessarily, at least I don't think it's standardized. I think some schools do it, but like we don't have standardized like personal finance courses, right?
Yeah.
We don't have
Financial
standardized.
literacy is
Yes,
something that is not taught. And I'm like, why is that not taught?
exactly.
And I'm going to get to something about that in a minute. But yeah, I- do you feel
So
like it's so archaic that
mhm.
it needs to be updated? So the next question would be like, what do you think we could do to update it?
Yeah, okay. So I was gonna go into like personal finance. I think should be standardized, right? Some sort of emotional intelligence or EQ class where we just spend a semester. It doesn't even have to be necessarily talking about your emotions, but being able to articulate your own emotions, right? Like building self-awareness, like hell, even if it means like you take a journal and you just write to yourself and build that sort of self-awareness with yourself. I don't know if you've ever seen, what is that,
I just
the
saw
freedom
your,
riders the freedom riders movie. Like the teacher,
I haven't
she,
seen it, but I know of it. Hillary Swank's in it. And
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And she has the students have like a composition journal, write about, I don't know if it's their personal life or they write about something, but all I know is it helps them develop that self-awareness. They don't even have to read it to the class, it's optional, but they have to write in that journal just so she can see that they wrote something, right? Like I think stuff like that is important. So personal finance, EQ,
I just want
um
to jump in real
and
fast.
then yeah,
Because while I was doing my research, I came across Jordan Peterson. He was
yeah.
talking about it. He was talking about how one of the most important things you can do is read, but the
Hmm.
other thing is to articulate by writing
Yes,
down your thoughts. And I think that
exactly.
goes into what you're talking about is that
Yeah.
the writing down, which would go into the EQ. Sorry, I just
Hmm.
wanted to.
No, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. No, I love that. I appreciate you helping build those connections, of course. And because that's important, and I was victim of this too, but like, I think a lot of time we'll be like, oh, that's so easy to make that connection, but it's like, it's not. Like it requires
yeah.
there's like a gap in between, but personal finance, emotional intelligence or EQ, right? I think also something related to health, whether both physical or mental health, like knowledge, right? Like understanding maybe a little bit about psychology or just physical fitness, I think is another good pillar. Um,
What about
I think that's
creativity?
just for, yeah.
Like maybe a
See,
place for more creativity, like a place where there isn't this box on them and be like giving them something where it's like, how would you solve this problem if money
mhm,
wasn't an option and this wasn't a problem, just so they can stop thinking in that mindset, which frustrates me a little bit with education, is I feel like it's designed to build, I mean, Elon Musk has talked about this, workers and a worker mindset,
yeah,
and to
yeah,
just go, 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 instead of thinking, here's this system. How can I make it better? You look at
mhm,
McDonald's, there's a book, I forget the book. I think it's the founder that was based off. They talked about the systems and
mhm,
how they came up with a system to make the fastest burger. And that's how they really, were able to be more productive
yeah,
in a
yeah,
faster amount of time, is creating the systems.
mhm.
and I don't think that's being taught enough, is how do we improve the systems that we have? If we had more people, more students looking at, how can I build a better system so that we can do things more efficiently, as opposed to, let me do 10 times 5, 10, 8, you know what I mean? It's like, instead of just always thinking linearly, which
Yeah.
it feels like,
Gotcha.
so I
I mean,
love,
I
so I
think I
love what
think
you
in
said.
high school, and maybe like middle school, elementary school, I think there are opportunities to be creative, right? Like they make that a requirement, at least to the states I've learned from like my family and such. Now maybe it's not everywhere. So if it's not everywhere, it should be. Where like you have to do at least a year or two of something like artistic, whether it's music or art or like painting, right?
Mm.
Or like creative writing. I think that is a standard. Correct me if I'm wrong,
No, no,
but
no.
in the high
I,
school and middle school level. So that
yeah,
answers that first
yeah,
part.
you're right. They do have that. My problem is the way it's set up. It's still set up
Uh-huh.
for it to be graded. And when you're dealing with creative pursuits, it's really
Yeah,
hard
fair
to
enough.
grade it. How do you grade it? It's like, how do you like go,
Yeah.
okay, this is the best, this is the worst. It's like it changes, it changes every day. I love what you added about the EQ, because there's so much stress now in the world.
Hmm.
And I think it's hitting kids younger and younger as parents are
Hmm.
still, suffering financially. It hits them younger and younger. We need, I think, meditation, and like you said, just speaking your feelings, how you feel. I
Yeah.
think we're taught to just hold them in, and then to
Hmm.
do it, especially women. A lot of women have to just, they're, they'll talk about it with certain people, but, men have a very hard time,
I think
expressing.
there's obstacles for both sides. Like
Exactly.
like at least growing up for me, yeah, I have I have a mom, I have a younger sister, so I think I could kind of see both perspectives. Like I also have a younger brother. Like for guys, it's tougher to talk about your emotions. At least that's what's normally taught in society. But see, I was
Yeah.
raised by a mother as well, so she taught me actually, like my brother and I, hey, it's okay to have feelings as long as you're aware of them. Um, and then from there, I kind of took that as okay, I'm going to continuously be aware through journaling and all these other things that I enjoy. Um, so yeah, I mean, I definitely think we each have like, everybody has uh, been taught like don't embrace your emotions, even though we're humans. That's part of being a human, having
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to finish
Now,
answering. I want to finish answering
yeah,
your,
yeah,
your your
finish. Yeah.
original education question. So that was the first part, right? Like incorporating something with EQ, personal finance, and something with health, whether physical or mental, right? And standardizing that across the board. Um, and I think there should also be something where it's like an online option for a lot of students, like where you can go at your own pace, where you can, like, I got bored in school a lot because I felt like it would just kind of take forever. Like it just go so long. So
Yeah.
I do think there should be options for students nowadays to some degree. Like if you want to go standard, great, go standard. But you can also do online classes. You can also test out of things. You can also, there's so many other options. I think if I could
Maybe
have,
an app,
yeah, I don't know, whatever, like
something like
something that
that.
that that the country or the world or whatever can come to some sort of agreement, at least to their respective countries. Now for university, in terms of education, yeah, I definitely think, of course, it depends what you want to study, right? If you want to be a doctor, that's a little different.
Yeah.
Um, or even like a
Yeah, you
dentist,
can't
right?
really
Like,
learn that. Yeah, you can't really
right.
learn to be a
So,
doctor on YouTube.
but even then, I think they could make it like they, as in like the universities, could make it a little fair. Like, of course, they're getting greedy. What is it? I saw a staggering statistic a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna round down that way. Whatever I say is at least for sure. It was over like
Yeah.
the tuition rate had increased by over 1,000-fold, 1,000 percentage. Sorry, 1,000%. It was more than 1,000%, but I know it's at least that because I remember it being four numbers. But then the quality of education had barely changed at all. I think it had only increased. I actually don't remember that number, but I remember it was like the chart was like tuition has skyrocketed, whereas
Well,
just the
that's what
regular
we're
tuition
seeing,
was just like,
is
ugh,
that they're just continuing to raise the
yeah,
prices slowly and hope nobody
hmm,
notices that, oh, we haven't really improved
yeah,
any of the other stuff.
yeah.
We're just going to keep raising rates because we're college,
Exactly. And the beauty with that is the beauty with that is that at some point I truly believe it's gonna come back to like bite them, because now we have the option of going on the internet and learning
Yeah.
stuff on YouTube, or whatever. Hell, you could reach out if you want to be like a content creator. Try and reach out to Gary Vee himself, and just go to New York and try and like learn from him. Or I don't know, maybe Elon Musk is a little tougher, right? But like you could try and reach out to Elon Musk's
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
and somehow go to Texas if you're really that determined, and take the next year to just work under Elon Musk or with his team or something like that for the
Yeah.
next 2 years. I think that's more important than university, especially if it's
Yeah.
if they're gonna charge you, the ridiculous 40 grand a year. That's a
Well,
salary. Like,
that's the ridiculous thing. I don't is like, okay, we got rid of debtor's prison a long time ago, but we didn't. We just called it something different, and we're just doing it with school. It's like, why are we charging people this ridiculous amount? This is why I do think we should have a public option that's free, so that people, yes, if you want to go to Harvard, you want that name, that's great. But it seems like in order to educate yourself, you have to pay this ridiculous price that you can never pay back, or very
yeah,
few people can pay back. Some
yeah,
will, but
exactly.
but it's so it seems to me disingenuous. Like, oh, come learn, but we're going to beat
Yeah,
you to death
and it's outdated,
forever.
and it's so
Yeah, it's very
outdated.
outdated.
It's like especially even for tech. Like we were learning stuff from like a decade ago. I was like, man, this is pointless. So like I would, after school, I would go home, watch YouTube videos, and take the time to actually learn what's current and relevant. And I think I learned more in that than I did in a majority, not all of my university, right? There were some things that I think were important, right? Like practicing socializing, right? Or
Yeah.
team projects. I think that's important. But for the most part, a lot of the information and the professors don't take the time to stay relevant and update, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I would agree. Now, moving on a little bit, I have to imagine you had the same idea. The importance of Rich Dad, Poor Dad for
mm,
most of us, because I feel like almost every one of us that read it, we're like, oh, wow, that's what it's like. Did you
mm.
have that same feelings? I mean, you've mentioned it in your finance books. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that book?
How do I feel about the book? Right. I want to make sure that's the question.
Well, why do you let me rephrase it, because
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
I kind of already know I already kind of know how you feel about the book,
Mhm.
but like, why do you think it's so, like, it's almost universally in every single book, Instagram person, anyone that wants to learn financial literacy, this is usually the book that comes up. What do you
Yeah.
think it does that the other books aren't doing?
Simple and relevant storytelling. Anytime we read each of the chapters, we can kind of relate. Like I still remember when it was what the kid talking with his friend's father, whatever, and it was like, oh, you know what? I'll pay you $10 for this job. And the kid's stressing about, oh, maybe I can get that piece of candy, over on the corner store or whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I'll pay you $20. Oh, well, now maybe if I save up, I can get a bike. And that's so true, right? So he keeps it relevant, but it's also simple because he has the kids there. Like it's like from a simple perspective that anybody can follow the stories and ideas that he's putting out. Now, on the other side, though, I will say I think with Rich Dad Poor Dad, it misses a lot of the technical stuff. So that's why I try to
Yes.
ask people about, if you want to learn personal finance, Rich Dad Poor Dad might not be the book for you, because
Yeah.
maybe you
No,
were
you
looking
can't.
for more of the technical side, or more of the something more specific within personal finance. Then Rich Dad Poor Dad might not be the book for you, because it's certainly not, as people who have read, it's not a technical book. It's more of a mindset sort of book, right? It's more of a
Yeah.
how the rich sort of think, but not how they actually do it.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. Yeah. It's not, it's not like the
Do I have it?
financial, it's not the financial investor, or,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
So,
What's a book I don't think it's
ugh,
talked about enough is this book called The Accounting Game. It's told basically through the idea of a lemonade stand. And so
hmm,
you're looking at business all through the aspects of a lemonade stand. It's really good. So it just breaks everything down into these
yeah.
simple terms.
Hmm.
And I saw it, like it was on sale on like Amazon. I was like, yeah, look at this book. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a really kind of explains certain
Yeah.
things in a way as they go
Hmm.
through the balance sheet.
And accounting's
Um,
important. Like I know
yeah,
a lot of people are like, oh, accounting is like for boring people. Whatever. It's like, no, no, no. Like if you really want to do business, like take a week or two, go on YouTube and just look up all the accounting terms. What is a balance sheet? You know, what is a financial statement? What is a 10K? What is a 10Q? How to read financial statements of large businesses, small businesses, you know, medium, you know, whatever, any public businesses. What are the what is it, the T tables, right? You know, all these
yeah.
different accounting terms. Just look them up. I know there's more. I forget the specific
Do
terms.
you do you think it's information overload though for a lot of people? Do
It
you think
depends
people
if
are
you want to do
overwhelmed?
business. I think it depends if you want to do business. If you're not, if you're a person who doesn't care to do business or is not like some sort of entrepreneur or creative, right? Or then I think yeah, then it's just not for you, right? Like some people, I met a guy a couple weeks ago for just getting some feedback on a resume, and he was like, oh, you know, I'm happy with staying in my job for the next 20 years, and I'm just looking forward to my retirement. I'm like, sure, if that's your mindset, you know, like
Mm,
that's if that's what you
yeah,
want, then great. I wish you nothing but happiness in that. Like, you know, good luck.
yeah.
But if you want to do business, or and I also include, or if you're a creative person, then I even if it feels like information overload for some people, it's the foundations that you need. You need to know a bit about accounting. You need to know how a
That
business works.
that maybe that's not
Uh,
the right word I meant. I meant more like I think people are overwhelmed with where do I start? Because there's so many people
just
out
pick
there now.
anything,
Yeah,
roll the dice. Like,
yeah,
I think where do you start, and you don't have anything you want to necessarily currently build, but you know it's something you want to work toward, then just pick anything, right? Because you're wasting
yeah.
time thinking about, oh, I'm gonna do this and this and this, and then you end up like a week later and you do nothing. Like just do something that sounds the most interesting to you, because that might lead to
Yeah.
another thing that leads to another thing that leads to the thing that you end up loving, right? Um, and then also, if you have something that you're currently building, then try and learn something that's relevant. Oh, you know, I'm really struggling with managing the finances for the business. Yeah, then learn accounting, right? But if you already have that part handled, or you're hiring someone, or you know, maybe you're not even looking to make money at the moment, you're just looking for a more creative side, then maybe you want to learn more about digital marketing, right? And social media, right? Like, because you're right, like we have limited time, but keep it relevant and stay curious, and also less judgment. Don't judge yourself on like, oh, you know, I'm only doing this. It's like, nah, man, that's better than what you were before, right? And it's
Exactly.
like it's better than doing nothing. You know what I mean? So
Atomic habits, 10% better.
yeah, yeah. I mean, 1% better each day. What was that? Compounds like over 30 times better results than you were a year ago. If you do that
Yeah,
just for 1 year, if you start today, improving 1% better every single day, a year from now, you'll be over 30 times better than you were. So
exactly.
it adds up.
One thing I noticed through my research is you seem to be
Yeah.
a huge admirer of Robin Sharma and Gary Vaynerchuk. What do you think it is about them?
Surprised you didn't say Dr. Jordan Peterson.
I was going to say him, but but you kind of already talked about he's. We
Yeah.
could throw him in the mix too because you did mention him in your
So
blog.
the question is, what I think about them? Sorry, I missed the main
Yeah,
question.
what do you think? What drives you to them?
Oh, okay, yeah. Robin Sharma, I love his optimism.
Hmm.
Um, like, yeah, I think just overall, I love his positive optimism and uh positive mindset. I think overall that I think we need more of that in the world. You know, where like there's so much pessimism, even though we have so many options nowadays. Like you think 50 years ago, like we didn't have the internet. We had, well, so like really think about what 50 years ago, that's 1970s. We had TV, right? We had radio. We didn't have the internet though. I don't think there were computers, right? Like in
No.
everyday homes, which is tough
And
for me to
look,
imagine. But
we
yeah, I mean, you
have
have an
iPad.
iPad, right? There was like what in the 70s, there wasn't like personal phones, right? Again,
Kindle.
I'm not from the 70s, so I could be
Yeah.
completely off. But like there's at least it's not personal phones to this degree of like, oh, let me carry it in my pocket. So things are so much better now. And I think it allows us to embrace a lot of the options we want to do, not just some, but like
Exactly.
a majority of them, you know. And so I think we need more of that positive attitude,
Well,
especially now.
look at what we're doing right now. We're talking through a video
Yeah.
screen at the exact same time in two
Hmm.
different parts of the world.
That's crazy. You couldn't do that.
That is awesome.
That's nuts. That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing, you know.
Like before, it used to be I'd have to go and see you all the way in
Yeah,
California and do that. Now we could just
exactly.
do it through here. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah, like that's amazing. You know, that to me that's amazing. Like, why not, instead of being like, ah, you know, I gotta go do this interview with Justin, like, oh great. You know, I was like, no, like that's amazing that we get to
yeah.
sit here, have a conversation. People can listen to us without even having to leave their bed. Like, you can just go on your phone and like boom, you're listening to a conversation. Hell, you can listen to conversations with Elon Musk or Robin Sharma or whoever, you know,
Yeah.
of people that interview them, you know. So I think that's really
You can
amazing. And I
you
think we
can
need more
listen
of
to
that positive.
books
Yeah,
being read to you.
yeah,
So if you couldn't read, you could still have the book read to you
yeah,
from
exactly.
from heaven. I mean, that wasn't, I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, there were audiobooks, but it wasn't affordable.
yeah,
It was like 30
yeah,
bucks to get an audiobook.
exactly.
I
And then,
mean,
I mean, I don't know how long headphones have been around, but like hell, even TVs I know were expensive just 20 years ago. So I'd imagine
yeah,
headphones and stuff like that would be expensive. So now it's like you can, I mean, honestly, you could get headphones for like $20, right? Or earbuds or whatever for $20, no
yeah,
problem. So, so I think we need more of that positivity. You know, like the future, I think will always be better than the past. Well, it can be, right? Like I get it. You know, the
yeah.
Earth could blow up or something, but I think it's important to stay optimistic and say, okay, if the world is going to blow up in 1,000 years, what can we do today or tomorrow or work on over the next lifetime so the result is a little better, you know?
Yeah.
And if we can think
Yeah,
about it like that
exactly.
and that positive attitude, we're good. Now you mentioned, who else did you mention? You said Robin Sharma. Uh,
Uh, one thing I wanted to add to the Ramen Sharma thing, as I like the 5 a.m. club. I like the idea of it.
yeah.
My problem is I feel like sometimes it becomes like a religion and
Hmm.
people, feel like that's the only way to do it. It's like that
Yeah.
works for some people, but it's
Yeah.
about what you do with the time.
Yes, exactly.
You could do the 5 a.m. club and just sit there and do nothing. And, it
Yeah.
really doesn't accomplish what the 5 a.m. club is really accomplishing is you're getting a head start on everybody else so that you're away from the distractions of the world so that you
Yeah.
can get started and you're not having to, pull through.
Yeah.
But you could do that
Hmm.
at 6, you could do that at 7,
Yeah.
you could do that at 8, you could do that
Exactly.
at any time. It's the
Yeah.
system that is what
Yeah.
he's trying to teach. And they get stuck
Exactly.
in the
Yes.
dogma
Yes. Yes. Yes.
of
Yes.
like,
Yes. Yes.
oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm in the 5 a.m. club. I always joke with somebody, it's
Exactly.
like, well, what about the 5 p.m. club?
Yeah. Exactly. But exactly. Like that's why I like to tell people sometimes, like, they'll be like, what? It's like I'm not even a fan of the 5 a.m. club, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not about, like you said, it's not about the actual waking up at 5. It's about the system of waking up an hour earlier for you personally, so you have that extra hour to get a head start on what you want to do, you know, however you want to do it, you know. Because even with the whole working out and then working out, journaling, and then,
cold shower.
growth, right? Like, people do want to do it differently. Like, a workout for you is going to be a different workout for me, you know. Like, so for some people maybe it's just a jump rope instead of running. That's fine, you know. And then the reflection, maybe instead of journaling you prefer meditation, or you prefer talking to yourself in the mirror, or you prefer whatever. That's fine. Do that.
Yeah,
Do that thing that will just empower you and keep you inspired. And then we learn how you want to learn, whether that's books, great. If not, podcasts, YouTube videos. But then I add an asterisk: make sure you stay focused and intentional, right? Because I know how easy it can get to go on YouTube and go, oh well, let me just check out this entertaining video. But the whole intention was you were supposed to be learning, right, about X, Y, and Z, and now you're not.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
little bit of accountability there. But yeah,
Discipline. I think you
exactly.
gotta
I think
have you
this,
gotta have discipline when you're doing it.
yes, yeah, discipline is definitely a key one.
With all these options comes then the discipline. And I think that's where people get mixed up is it's like they lose the
Yep.
discipline with the options. So maybe that's more what they need to do is find the discipline so that they can focus and just as I'm sure you've heard, just start. Don't
Yeah.
start when you're ready. Just
Just start.
start. You're gonna
Yeah.
make
That's what
mistakes.
I did. That's what I did,
Exact same here.
and
This
like I just
podcast.
exactly, and you just
Had
kind of
no
keep
idea what I was
learning.
doing.
There
Yeah.
you go, and you just kind of learn as you go, and oh, okay, well that, I prepared these questions and I didn't ask any of them, or I felt a little nervous, but I felt less nervous than last interview, so that's better
Wow.
than yesterday. It's like, so things
Just
become,
go in
everything is
head
everything.
first in.
Everything
Exactly.
is everything. And that's
So
it.
so moving on, Gary Vaynerchuk. That was the other one I asked about.
Yes. Gary Vaynerchuk. Uh, what do I think about him? Right.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah. Okay. I want to make sure I'm staying focused.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. Just overall, I think he's a good like role model in the sense of like just do what you want to do,
yeah. The
and that's it. Like
possibilities. That's what I like about listening
like
to him. He's like,
embracing
take
yourself.
yeah. He's like,
You
take your
know.
old stuff and put it on eBay and see what happens.
Yeah.
Somebody might, do things like that. Looking for
I
things
know.
that no
I
one
see it
was looking
more
at.
like the creative side. Like
Yeah.
like like you don't need to be scared, or it's not that you don't need to be scared. It's like you can be scared, but have the courage to do the things you want to do, no matter how silly, quote unquote, or creative or not you that they are, right? Because other people are telling you, oh, that's not you, Ryan, or that's not you, Justin. It's like, like, how do you know what's me and not me? Maybe I've always wanted to be, I don't know, a freaking chef or some crap, and then it's like, but you're in tech. It's like that's something completely different. Like, whatever, then go do that thing. Whatever it might be. It could be cooking, it could be whatever. But so it's like I think I like to see Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, he does all those other things, but to me, I think the most important thing he does is just like showing that we need to embrace more of ourselves, and because those will have positive influences on the rest of the world, and even on ourselves and our own family, and we'll be happier by embracing more of what it is we do. But he keeps it realistic too, because it's like
Yeah.
you got to do the work, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't just like, oh, I want to do this and that, and then never do the work. You got to put in, you got to put in time, and you got to put in, have the
Yeah.
discipline to do the time, and make the projects and learn from your failed 100 projects so you can get that one.
But here's something that I would add to that.
Mm,
If you actually believe that you're going to succeed and that you're going to do well, then you'll do the work. It's only
yeah,
when you're fearful that nothing's going to happen that you don't do the work.
I would sort
It
of
comes
counter
more
that.
from fear. Really? Let's hear.
Well, you're saying if you have fear, you won't do the work.
I'm saying fear is usually why somebody's not doing the work. Because if you really look at why somebody's not doing the work, if you told them they were going to be successful now, and all
Yeah.
you had to do was this, you would take out the probability. But
Okay.
but there's the assumption that I might not, which tells me they don't really believe that they're going to succeed because they're finding ways to stop themselves. So they don't believe. I always look at the law of
Yeah.
attraction, and people think of the law of, they don't realize that the law of attraction is who you actually are. It's
Mm,
not like what you believe. Yeah, you can do affirmations till the cows come home, but it's actually got to be, do you believe it? Because
yeah.
if you believe you're going to be successful, if you believe this is going to, if you believe you're going to do it, you're not going to
That's true.
stop.
Yeah. I
That's kind of
just
what I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I appreciate the clarity, because you were saying like
Yeah.
without fear. It's like no. I mean, I'm still fearful each day when I go
Oh,
do my creative work. Because
we're
it's like
all, we're all, yeah, we're all fearful,
yeah,
but it doesn't
but it's having
stop
the
us.
courage. Yeah, exactly. It's having more courage than fear to do the things you want to
Yeah.
do. Or hell, even blocking out all the fear of judgment from the people around you. I think that's probably the biggest fear we face. Is judgment, the fear of judgment from the people around us, especially those closest to us, on our creative aspects, our more creative endeavors or different endeavors. It's like it's not that they're different; they're just part of you. You know,
Exactly.
so yeah, I think if you listen to this and you have fear, that's fine. Like you're not in this alone. Like I'm sending all my love. It's like,
Yeah.
but also have the courage to do the thing you really want to do. Because like if you put into perspective, take the day you were born, add 100 years. That's the day you're gonna die. So we only got 100 years to do the things we want to do. Like when you look back, do you want to be like, oh, I lived in fear and only fear, or do you want to say, yeah, I had fear, but I'm proud of myself because I had the courage to say like, I'm just gonna go for it, and just try
Yeah.
it.
push through.
Yeah, exactly.
Push through.
Yeah.
Now, then the other person it was Jordan Peterson. Now I'm going
Yeah.
to tell you something that I like about him. What I like about him is he's saying the things that wouldn't be considered politically correct, but have a
Yeah.
lot of truth to them. Like
Yeah.
what he's saying, like, why are that, he's saying, well, if we have bricklayers, are we going to make that equal in the workplace? I mean,
Hmm.
because there's no way you're going to find an
Yeah.
equal number of men. I mean, is that because is that equality? He also says, why, if we want real equality,
Hmm.
why do women wear makeup and the thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
never
mean,
thought
that's
about
true.
that.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
Yeah.
sexualizing it already. I mean, these are
Huh.
taboo sessions, um,
Yeah.
topics, but I like that he's putting them out there, and I
It's
don't
true.
see
Yeah.
anybody doing.
Yeah.
And he's
Well, I
willing to
mean,
take that on the chin.
yeah, he really is. And and I appreciate that he's like really smart because he puts in the time to actually talk about them. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna go off
Yeah.
of my feelings, or like I'm just gonna go off of like
Oh,
he, like, you can
it's
tell.
coming from research.
Yeah, and it's coming from all this time that he's dedicated to really focusing and studying that sector or industry or whatever. And it's like, damn, thank you, because I know how much work that has to be, and it's like, and then to be able to articulate that as well. So yeah, I love and appreciate his courage as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's to me, I like hearing from different thoughts, different thinkers, have
Hmm.
different
Yeah,
ideas. He
exactly.
comes more from academia world, but the
Yeah.
way he articulates it is unique. And the fact
Hmm.
that he's willing to sit on the hot seat and say
Yeah.
stuff that he knows is going to upset both political groups that we're in,
Yeah.
that we're going through right now. And it's just like, this is, here's
Hmm.
the actual science. Here's what's really going on. How could you actually quantify that?
But see,
You
does
know,
that say something more about Jordan B. Peterson or more about society?
I think it
Right?
says
Like,
about, I think he's putting the mirror up to society,
right? Because
and
it's
people
like,
don't
if
like that.
exactly, if we allow facts to like hurt our feelings, like, it's like, well, we're kind of playing to the part of like, oh, we're allowing it to hurt our feelings instead of just embracing, well, these are the
Yeah.
facts. And so yeah. Uh, what I like about Jordan B. Peterson, though, you said it. He articulates so well, and he takes so much time to learn and speak his truth, no matter the consequences he knows he's going to face. And I think that's important. Like, I'm not saying go and be an asshole. You know, like that. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. Like I mean, I think I've said it enough. I think love and kindness and all that is certainly very important. We're
Yeah.
all just humans trying to do our best in the world. Um, but I think it's also important to stand for what you believe in,
Yeah.
to fight for what you believe in, even when no one else is with you. If you're all alone, well, you got you. You know, and but also put in the work, because
Yeah.
he reads a lot of books, and he interviews a lot of people so he can continue learning and growing as well. So
Yeah. Now, you've talked about compound interest.
yes.
Elaborate a little more on compound interest.
I like the story of the magic penny versus $1 million. For anybody who
Mm.
hasn't heard, it's like, would you rather have $1 million or the magic penny that doubles every day for 30 days? It's like, you want to go for that magic penny. And that's compound interest, right? So compound interest is, you have a penny, it's going to double every day for 30 days. And if you do that, you have like millions of dollars, because it starts with one penny, then two, then four, then you have, what is it, 2 to the 30 or whatever. So let's see, actually, I'm curious, what is 2 to the 30? If we do 2 to the 30, that's 30 or 1,073,741. If you do just 2 to 30, right? Maybe the math is wrong there, but maybe it's more data. I have no idea. But compound interest is where you have, at least in terms of finance, right? You have a certain amount of money, and it makes you just a little bit more. And now, because you have that little bit more, that is going to be added to your sum of money that is going to make you some more money. And I think that translates to life as well. Like, if you're learning a new skill, like I know you were asking about, people feel a little overwhelmed. It's like, well, just pick anything, because hell, pick your just favorite one that you think for you would be the most the funnest, the fun number one, whatever. Be playful with it if you have to. Like just, oh, that would be cool. Because you never know where that journey of learning that, that you think of yourself as money, right? Oh, I'm adding all this value to myself is going to then allow you to bring more compound interest in something else. If you learn all about finance, well, that's going to translate when you go into business. Now you're going to have a solid foundation of finance. You just need some of these business, maybe product skills, but you have all this finance stuff, and then it continues to snowball. Compound interest could also be the snowball at the top of a mountain, right? You have this just a regular snowball, and over time it just becomes this big, I don't know, big snowball. And it just continues to grow and grow over time. And I think as humans, we have the power to build compound interest, not just financially, because it's not just money, but in our skill sets. And that's important. But we got to be consistent and disciplined to do the work, to put in the time. Even on those days we kind of don't want to. It's like, well, find a way to play, be fun with it. Like some days I mean, people that know me personally, it's like I'm not the biggest fan of like chores, funny enough. But I try to find ways to make it fun. Like I don't like doing laundry, but I'll put headphones on to just kind of dance and just kind of make it a little more fun, Like I'm saying hacks like that, and anything you do, I think are would probably be good to do.
Yeah. I think I read somebody said that like, if you can't be happy doing something as simple as just, washing dishes, then how are you going to be happy doing something,
Exactly. I don't like doing dishes either. So then but then that's on me to change my perspective. Like, hey, like, well, at least I have the opportunity to do some dishes, like I can use this time to just kind of.
At least you have the opportunity to clean dishes.
Yeah, exactly.
In other countries, they don't have water. So
yeah,
how do you even imagine that? Imagine you have no water. We take the water away. Now clean the dish. Now
man, that's a lot. That's tough.
Now you're like,
how do you do that? Exactly.
Paper towels,
so
like without water.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the perspective is, we have it a lot better. The fact we have a machine that we just throw dishes in and it cleans.
Oh, I mean more by hand. I don't like washing things by hand. Ugh.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like some people don't even like that either. I mean, like we have so many options now to do that. I'm sure somebody probably, well, I don't know if anybody's done that yet. That would be interesting. Hi, I'll come to your house and wash your dishes. But
well, I mean, you could always get like a maid, maybe. Like
I guess that'd be like kind of a maid, yeah. But but I think the dishwasher probably puts that out of business. Like, well, why am I paying for you?
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. You could maybe convince people, come to your house like, hi, I'm here to wash your dishes. Thank you so much. I'll be leaving.
I mean, hey, some people are lazy, if you find me, I would consider it, it's like, oh, well, I don't like dishes, so.
No, we've got a guy who's that now, and I pay a guy to put the dishes in the dishwasher and
there you
press
go.
the thing. Now we're at a special form of laziness. Just
exactly.
All right, so. Okay, I want to thank Ryan Perez at Dev Nations. Once again, you can find his website at www.devnations.com. You can also find him on Instagram at DevNations or at MindDevs or at Perez the Dev. I want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I hope you learned a lot. So stay tuned for part 2. And I will see you next time. Well, wait a minute, I forgot. You can find me at Justin Yance. Remember, at Justin Yance or at the DMF. And now I will see you next time on the DMF.